In Phoenix, Arizona, a young, close-knit family is looking ahead to a new chapter on the horizon, with everything beginning to fall into place. A future that feels steady, certain, promising, until suddenly, it isn't. A tragedy, a moment no one could have foreseen. But as the smoke begins to clear, something doesn't quite settle, and what once looked like a promising future begins to feel far less certain. What happens when love becomes fatal? This is the Fatal Attraction Podcast with Smoldering Secrets.
July 18th, 2012. It's a sweltering Wednesday afternoon in Phoenix, Arizona, one of the fastest growing metros in America.
Phoenix is the anchor city of a sprawling, multi-city metropolitan area known as Valley of the Sun.
This time of the year, it's hot, triple digits. We're looking at 110s, 115s.
And on this 112-degree Arizona afternoon, things are about to get even hotter.
Phoenix police get a call from a very frantic man. He says that his apartment is on fire.
911, what is your emergency?
My apartment's on fire. My girlfriend's inside.
The caller is 21-year-old Darius Robinson.
He reports that his girlfriend, Shaniqua Hall, may be inside of the building.
She was there when I left.
Do you think she's still inside?
I don't know.
He's frantic. He doesn't know what's going on.
I tried to get in, but I couldn't.
With all the smoke, he didn't want to risk taking his daughter in there.
Please, send someone, hurry up!
And if Shaniqua is trapped inside, she isn't the only one.
She's 9 months pregnant.
God, my baby, Shaniqua.
At only 21, Shaniqua Hall had a bright future ahead of her.
She was a vibrant young woman, a positive person.
She was really a fun-loving, outgoing girl who really loved to joke around.
She was a light in everyone's life.
And the light of her life was her boyfriend, Darius.
Can I get an application?
Darius Robinson, also known as Darius to family and friends, met Shaniqua Hall while they were in high school.
Fill out your first name.
She actually came to his job applying for a position, and he helped her.
Thanks. I really hope I get the job.
Yeah, me too.
They just kind of hit it off from the beginning.
Shaniqua did get the job, and soon she and Darius grew closer.
She had the night shift. He would walk her home every night.
And from there, they just start falling in love.
You want to come in? Meet my mom?
Yeah, I love that.
Shaniqua came from a very loving family. They were very present. They were very supportive.
It was a life Darius had never known.
Darius did not come from a stable home.
Look who's coming in the door.
His mother was in prison.
Well, hi, Darius. How are you?
His father wasn't in the picture, and he'd spent most of his childhood being passed around between relatives.
Thinking about what that means for a young child, he might have felt that he wasn't loved or didn't have someone that really cared.
But once he met Shaniqua, all that changed.
Shaniqua's family kind of brought him in.
Shaniqua's mom really started to take to Darius.
If he was walking her home at night after they got off late, her mother cared enough to say, hey, it's okay to stay at our house. We want to keep you safe as well.
Those occasional overnight stays eventually became permanent.
Shaniqua's mom allowed him to move in the house with them.
He probably really appreciated it, honestly, to have people that would look out for him.
Darius was finally able to find a family.
And with support from Shaniqua's family, Darius thrived.
He was working hard, he was going to school, and he was going to church every week.
However, there were some complications.
Hey, Ma.
While he was living there, Shaniqua became pregnant.
I have something to show you.
Oh, wow.
Instead of making them feel bad for their mistakes, Shaniqua's mom really supported them.
We're going to get through this together.
She allowed them to stay there until they graduated high school.
I'm real happy for you.
In 2009, the happy couple had a beautiful baby girl.
These two parents are so excited. They get an apartment of their own. Shaniqua got a job at a call center. Darius is working as a security guard at a local college. This is a young couple, fresh out of high school, really trying to make it work.
And then, at the end of 2011, the young couple got more exciting news.
They were expecting their second child.
There was a lot of excitement around just preparing for a new baby.
The family moved into a new, bigger apartment.
And they were also making big plans for the future.
Shaniqua and Darius started talking about getting married.
It's not often times that people this young can actually come together and build a life, but they seem to have done it.
Only now, it looks like their bright future may be in jeopardy.
911 received a frantic call stating that there was a fire in the apartment.
I tried to get in, but I couldn't. Please, send someone, hurry up!
He's afraid that his girlfriend, Shaniqua, is stuck inside the burning apartment.
She's in here, she's in here!
When first responders arrive on the scene, Darius meets them in the parking lot.
He led the firefighters into the apartment.
She's in here, she's in here!
The last he knew, Shaniqua was in the apartment.
Firefighters rush inside and quickly assess the situation.
They start looking for any signs of anyone that may still be alive and immediately see white smoke in the hallway.
The bulk of the smoke seems to be coming from the bedroom.
When he reaches the bedroom door, he opens it and he's met with thick smoke.
The area around the bed was in flames.
They immediately put out the fire with a portable fire extinguisher.
Once the blaze is out, the firefighters find Shaniqua.
They found Shaniqua on the floor between the bed and the wall.
She was badly burned.
It is too late to save her.
And it doesn't look like her death is an accident.
She had a rag stuffed in her mouth.
She was bound by duct tape.
We're gonna have one victim on the inside.
What transpired here is not just heartbreaking, but profoundly unsettling. The reality, it seems, may be much nearer than we ever anticipated. Stay tuned for more of the Fatal Attraction Podcast.
Our HBCUs have a legacy that's straight up golden. And McDonald's is proud to help keep it that way. Since 2021, the Golden Arches has connected with the Thurgood Marshall College Fund to provide $1 million in scholarships for students headed to our HBCUs. That kind of cash helps keep bright minds on the yard, dreams within reach, and the future golden. Learn more about McDonald's Black and Positively Golden scholarships at mcdblackscholars.com.
Shaniqua Hall and Darius Robinson couldn't wait to welcome their new addition to the world.
They were both excited about the birth of this second child.
In preparation, they moved into a new, bigger apartment.
Everything was looking up for them.
But now, after Darius called 911 and reported a fire at their apartment, firefighters have found Shaniqua's badly burned body in the couple's bedroom. And her death appears to be no accident.
Her hands were bound with duct tape.
There's a rag in her mouth.
Once the fire is out, first responders call in homicide detectives.
I have one victim on the inside.
It looks like the fire was set to hide a crime.
Was it a robbery or home invasion?
When homicide detectives arrive on the scene, they quickly rule out the robbery angle.
There doesn't seem to be any forced entry, and it doesn't look like anything was disturbed.
There was no ransacking, no electronics gone, no valuables gone.
In fact, the detectives suspect that Shaniqua's killer may have left something behind.
They found 2 rolls of duct tape on the kitchen counter.
One that's almost completely finished and one that has not been used.
The used roll is a match for the tape used to bind Shaniqua.
They also found a mostly empty bottle of lighter fluid.
It definitely looks like somebody came in to intentionally torture and kill Shaniqua.
It will take an autopsy to determine if she was dead before the blaze began, but detectives have little doubt she was doused with the accelerant and set on fire.
In this instance, the fire was localized to the bed and the floor where the deceased person was found. That, in and of itself, is suspicious.
The fire had largely sputtered out before the apartment was fully engulfed.
Something like lighter fluid, it doesn't burn for very long. So it's not going to do the type of damage that the person that set the fire was intending.
Detectives have Darius make arrangements for his daughter, then transport him to the station for a formal statement.
Police take Darius while detectives stay and canvass the area.
They start by speaking to the neighbors who've gathered outside.
Quite a few neighbors said that they heard the smoke alarms going off.
I heard that alarm going off. I didn't know it was a fire alarm.
They didn't see any smoke or any fire.
And no one saw anything suspicious.
During that whole time, I didn't see one person leave or enter.
The next thing anyone knew, police and firefighters were there, and Darius was outside with his daughter.
He looks really upset. I was watching through the window, just kind of trying to figure out what's going on.
The neighbors were mostly in shock that Shaniqua was dead.
Did she mention any trouble between the two of them or anything like that?
Darius and Shaniqua's neighbors all say they seemed like a happy couple.
Friendly people, like when we saw them, we'd say hi.
Thank you.
When the canvass is complete, detectives head back to the precinct to take Darius's statement.
Darius didn't have any problem cooperating.
He still seemed pretty shaken by what happened.
Start with this morning and bring me up to now.
I woke up a little bit right before 4.
He says he went to work.
Got off work at 1 o'clock.
Okay.
I left like 3 minutes afterwards.
Okay, and then what do you do?
I went across the street to the store.
He said he had picked up a few groceries, and then he went back to the apartment.
He saw Shaniqua and they talked a little bit.
Then, to give Shaniqua a little alone time, he had taken their daughter out to lunch.
But their father-daughter moment was about to take a disastrous turn.
When he returned, he said he saw the smoke and he heard the fire alarms.
Shaniqua!
Did you ever make it up into the apartment?
I have my daughter in my hand. I wasn't gonna do that.
So that's when he made the frantic 911 call.
911, what is your emergency?
My apartment's on fire. My girlfriend's inside.
Darius's story fits with what the detectives know, but there are parts of it that give them pause.
Shaniqua was 9 months pregnant with their child, and he didn't go in and try to save them?
I didn't know whether or not she was still in there.
She was there when you left.
Was there some secret about the couple's relationship the neighbors hadn't seen?
What would you describe your relationship with your girlfriend like?
We have our days where we have verbal disagreements and go back and forth with each other, but not the typical normal.
And when the detectives ask if anyone else might want to hurt Shaniqua, he says no.
She got no enemies.
There's no reason why anybody would set fire to your apartment.
No.
Then, at the conclusion of the interview, the detectives ask one last thing of Darius.
We're gonna forensically examine your clothing for signs of accelerant.
It's standard procedure for these kinds of investigations.
Finished with Darius, The detectives turned to Shaniqua's mother, who's been waiting anxiously for answers.
Thank you for coming in. I'm sorry for your loss.
Her mom and several other family members showed up to the crime scene as soon as they got word.
They were advised by officers still on the scene to go on and head down to the station and speak with detectives.
Her mom starts by filling detectives in on her daughter's relationship with Darius.
She talked about how they've been together since they were teenagers, how she took him in under her roof.
He's been around for a long time.
This is someone that she said was like family.
Much like the neighbors, she said she never saw any trouble in the relationship.
Was he ever physical with her? No. Was she physical with him?
No.
However, she also says that their relationship wasn't perfect.
I know that he's a cheater.
He's a cheater?
He's a cheater.
And she says there's proof.
Darius has a baby with another woman.
Stay with us as investigators start to uncover the truth about what really happened. This is the Fatal Attraction Podcast.
Our HBCUs have a legacy that's straight up golden. And McDonald's is proud to help keep it that way. Since 2021, the Golden Arches has connected with the Thurgood Marshall College Fund to provide $1 million in scholarships for students headed to our HBCUs. That kind of cash helps keep bright minds on the yard, dreams within reach, and the future golden. Learn more about McDonald's Black and Positively Golden scholarships at mcdblackscholars.com.
Detectives investigating the murder of Shaniqua Hall have just learned that her boyfriend, Darius Robinson, has been unfaithful.
Shaniqua's mother told the investigators that Darius had gotten someone else pregnant.
Her name is Stephanie Cameron.
According to Shaniqua's mom, Darius got Stephanie pregnant while he was dating Shaniqua.
Because the baby's about a year and a half now.
She also said there's no doubt that Darius is the father of her child.
We've seen a picture of the baby.
She said the little boy looked just like Darius.
Shaniqua's mother says that her daughter had been upset when she found out about Stephanie's pregnancy. But she didn't break things off with Darius.
Relationship infidelity is not always a deal breaker.
Despite the fact that he had gotten another woman pregnant, Shaniqua decided to forgive him.
That wasn't the only unusual thing Shaniqua did.
Shaniqua had actually contacted Stephanie.
She goes to her and says, I want to let you know our children can be siblings. They are siblings, and we should get to know each other.
Despite the circumstances, the two women had done just that.
They start talking and communicating back and forth.
We have this very interesting dynamic of two women finding out that they have children by the same man, and they actually build a relationship.
How mature, how selfless, too, to think about her child and having an expanded family, a blended family.
However, according to Shaniqua's mother, the kids weren't all the two women talked about.
She said that Shaniqua and Stephanie had also talked a lot about Darius.
They became like friends. Teenage girls comparing notes.
They would cross-reference stories that he told each of them.
According to Shaniqua's mom, Darius spent several months trying to juggle both relationships.
Darius was telling one he was going to stay with them, and he was telling the other one the same thing.
Until he found out that his two girlfriends were talking behind his back.
And he kind of felt betrayed that they have this relationship that they've been building behind his back.
When he found out about that they were communicating, he was mad, he yelled, why are you in my business? It's none of your business what I do.
None of my business? No. You're the one who's cheating. You know what?
According to Shaniqua's mother, it was only then that her daughter decided she'd had enough.
She put him out.
She put him out.
She was like, get out of my house.
When he left, Darius had gone to stay with Stephanie, and Shaniqua had tried to move on.
She said, Mommy, I'm done. I'm gonna move on with my life. Well, baby, that's what you need to do. You need to move on.
Unfortunately, Shaniqua had not followed her mother's advice.
A couple months later, I find out he's back.
And he was back with Shaniqua because Stephanie had put him out.
For what reason?
Because he was still communicating with Shaniqua.
Shaniqua's mother says she was initially skeptical about the reconciliation.
Over time, she said she realized that Darius and her daughter were committed to working things out.
Every weekend, I cook Sunday dinners.
Right.
Darius.
And how are those situations?
They were fine. Everybody's laughing and talking.
And with the new baby on the way, their commitment had only grown.
They were talking about marriage.
She told you that?
Was it possible Stephanie found out about the marriage plans?
It is a possibility that she could have sought revenge.
Detective decided they need to have a chat with this other woman.
And their suspicions of Stephanie only deepen after the detectives talked to Shaniqua's aunt.
The detectives reached out to her aunt because she was the last person who spoke to Shaniqua other than Darius.
My understanding is you had a phone conversation with Shaniqua.
Yes, she called me at 12:34.
The last time that Shaniqua spoke with her aunt was just hours before she died.
We discussed about the baby.
She had talked to her almost every day about how excited she was about the pregnancy.
Do you have any knowledge of DeJuan Darius's, looking forward to this child, or was there any type of regrets or negativity surrounding it?
Well, she did state to me that he had seemed happy.
However, she also says there was one thing that still worried Shaniqua.
She said that the girlfriend that he had, she felt kind of off about that.
According to Shaniqua, Darius had been keeping Stephanie in the dark.
She didn't think that he had even told her that she was pregnant and having another baby.
Stay tuned for more. What comes next raises even more questions. This is the Fatal Attraction Podcast.
Detectives suspect there may have been bad blood between Shaniqua Hall and Stephanie Cameron over the father of their children, DeJuan Darius Robinson.
Darius and Shaniqua reconciled, and they were living together once again.
Shaniqua was also 9 months pregnant with her and Darius's second child.
According to Shaniqua's aunt, Darius had never shared the news with Stephanie, who he also had a child with.
But now detectives wonder if Stephanie had found out.
Shaniqua was far enough along that there was no hiding it.
Could this have been the cause of the murder?
If Stephanie was already jealous that Darius was getting back with Shaniqua, maybe the news of them expecting a baby pushed her over the edge.
When the detectives bring Stephanie in for questioning, she appears more than willing to cooperate.
I heard about what happened to Shaniqua, but I just can't believe it.
She was super shocked that anybody would want to do anything like this to her.
I had nothing to do with that if that's what you're assuming.
But she's adamant that she's not involved.
Stephanie told the detectives there was no beef between them. There was no anger. In fact, they had become friends.
They both wanted to do the best that they could for their children.
They were really excited about raising the kids together as siblings.
Both women displayed a level of maturity, a level of kindness, a level of support and love and selflessness.
I didn't even know that Darius and her were together until after I was pregnant.
But she says she'd known Darius a lot longer.
She's known DeJuan Darius since they were kids.
She says, however, their relationship was short-lived.
He had moved in a month before their child was born and then 5 months afterwards. She says she really had no more dealings with him at all.
You weren't jealous that he went back to Shaniqua?
Lord, no. If anything, I said she can have him.
She said she didn't really want Darius back. He lied about everything, and he was very manipulative.
Like, Darius was telling me one thing and then would turn around and tell Shaniqua another.
She talked about how they used to compare notes.
Stephanie says that Shaniqua had given her all the dirt about her relationship with Darius.
I'm just surprised she took him back, especially after how they fought.
According to Stephanie, Shaniqua said that she and Darius argued all the time.
It wasn't very violent, just a little pushing and shoving.
He ever put hands on you?
No, but there is something you should know.
Stephanie lets detectives know that Shaniqua and Darius were engaged in a child support battle.
Stephanie said she found out about the child support dispute because some of the court papers got sent to her at her house.
He owed about $10,000 in back payments.
To detectives, it sounded like Stephanie was suggesting that Darius might have a motive to get rid of Shaniqua.
Having the stress of child support, having money issues, it could possibly be domestic violence.
Or is Stephanie just trying to throw the detectives off her trail?
Where were you Wednesday afternoon?
I was in California.
Okay.
And when investigators look into Stephanie's alibi, it checks out.
They were able to confirm it from multiple witnesses.
What Stephanie told them about the child support also tracks.
Detectives pulled the court records and determined that Darius was supposed to be paying child support to Shaniqua for their first daughter.
Shaniqua had filed for child support when she kicked Darius out.
Was that really a motive for murder?
Shaniqua and Darius were thinking about getting married.
Now, if that happened, wouldn't the child support case go away?
The detectives are still digging into the child support issue when they get an urgent call from Shaniqua's sister.
Homicide.
Shaniqua's sister informs them that things weren't as rosy as everyone saw.
There's something you need to know about Shaniqua and Darius.
She said that Shaniqua suspected Darius was cheating on her again.
She didn't tell Mama, since Mama didn't want her to get back with him to begin with.
He was receiving text messages, he was getting phone calls at all hours of the night.
And according to her sister, Shaniqua had recently gotten proof that Darius was still stepping out.
A week before the murder, Darius got a ticket from a red light camera.
The car was registered in Shaniqua's name, therefore the ticket went to Shaniqua.
The photo from the traffic camera came with the ticket.
In it, you could see Darius behind the wheel.
And he wasn't alone.
There was another woman in the car. It was not Shaniqua.
It wasn't Stephanie either.
He got himself another girl.
Shaniqua was furious.
She told her sister, she's done, it's over, this was the last straw.
There was no way she was gonna marry him.
Stay tuned for more of the Fatal Attraction Podcast.
Our HBCUs have a legacy that's straight up golden. And McDonald's is proud to help keep it that way. Since 2021, the Golden Arches has connected with the Thurgood Marshall College Fund to provide $1 million in scholarships for students headed to our HBCUs. That kind of cash helps keep bright minds on the yard, dreams within reach, and the future golden. Learn more about McDonald's Black and Positively Golden scholarships at mcdblackscholars.com.
Detectives investigating Shaniqua Hall's murder have just learned that she was having second thoughts about marrying her boyfriend, Darius Robinson.
Shaniqua's sister had let detectives know that Shaniqua had found out that Darius was a serial cheater.
Shaniqua was thinking he was not ready for the type of commitment that she needed.
Could the impending breakup be a factor in Shaniqua's murder?
Darius already owed her child support for the one baby. If they separated, he'd be on the hook for the second one, too.
Now suspicious of Darius, detectives go back over his story.
They were particularly interested in what happened in the hours leading up to the 911 call.
He said that after work, he stopped by the grocery store to get a few things. And then he went home to take his baby girl to lunch.
To check up on Darius's story, detectives pay a visit to the supermarket Darius supposedly stopped into on his way home from work.
When the detectives reviewed the store surveillance video from that day, it confirmed Darius's story.
The surveillance video clearly shows Darius at the grocery store.
However, that's not all the footage reveals.
Among the items that Darius purchased at the grocery store were 2 rolls of duct tape.
He also purchased lighter fluid.
Just so happened, he purchased it a few hours before the fire took place.
With video evidence that appears to connect Darius to both the murder and the arson, the detectives bring him in for another round of questioning.
Investigators wanted to get some more information about what really happened in that apartment that day.
They start by asking Darius about the child support he owed Shaniqua.
From Darius's reaction, it was clear that the child support was a source of frustration.
But you live with her mother.
I know.
So why do you pay child support?
We lived together forever.
However, Darius said that the child support wasn't going to be an issue once they got married.
We got all that settled.
Okay.
Although, based on what Shaniqua's sister told them, the detectives knew that was not true.
When the detectives confront him about the lighter fluid and the duct tape, Darius doesn't deny that it's him in the store surveillance video.
He admits to having purchased them.
However, he also says he can explain.
The tape is for the project I was going to work on. We got the soda box. I was going to make something out of it.
He said he wanted to make it a dispenser in the refrigerator.
Okay, to dispense soda cans type thing?
Yeah, we drop it down. We just keep having to empty it.
Darius said that there was a totally innocent explanation for the lighter fluid, too.
She wanted to do like a family day and make burgers.
But despite Darius's attempts to explain away the tape and the lighter fluid, the detectives aren't buying it.
Don't you think that it's just outrageously coincidental that she's bound up with the duct tape that you bought?
No, duct tape my freaking girlfriend.
He also denied setting her on fire.
I wasn't there.
Well, you were, kind of. You were closer to it than I was.
I was outside. I don't know what happened inside.
Darius kept denying it, saying that it was just a coincidence. But the detectives, they don't believe in coincidences.
There's a lot more to this story than what you're telling me.
How you know?
Because I know what happened in that apartment. I know that your girlfriend's dead in there. I know that there was duct tape used in her death. And I know that she was set on fire. And you were at Albertson's buying duct tape and lighter fluid, and suddenly this happened.
Proof that I did that to her.
Well, it certainly is a strong indication that you did.
After laying out the evidence against him, the detectives give Darius one last chance to come clean.
I want you to think real hard about how you want to be portrayed in this. If you have anything to do with this at all, if this was you that did this, then you need to get out in front of this and be a good guy. Good people do things sometimes on the spur of the moment that they regret later. If you stay on the road of, I don't know what you're talking about, detective, and then later on it turns out to be you appear to be a cold-blooded killer. On the other hand, if this is something that got out of control and you're genuinely sorry for it, this is the time to tell me that that's the case.
I wasn't there.
You were not there. You didn't have anything to do with this. I don't believe you.
At the end of the interview, the detectives place Darius under arrest.
You're not going home tonight.
I'm not going home.
Negative. Under no circumstances are you going home. You're going to be booked into jail on 2 counts of first-degree murder.
They not only charged him with Shaniqua's murder, but for the unborn babies as well.
And the evidence against Darius gets even stronger when the detectives get the test results back from the crime lab.
The crime lab was able to determine that there was an accelerant that was used.
According to the lab, the accelerant was some form of petroleum distillate.
Petroleum distillate is found in items such as charcoal, lighter fluid, paint thinner, and mineral spirits.
And the crime lab also found traces of it somewhere else.
Darius had accelerant on the clothes that he was wearing the day of Shaniqua's murder.
What transpired here is not just heartbreaking, but profoundly unsettling. The reality, it seems, may be much nearer than we ever anticipated. Stay tuned for more of the Fatal Attraction Podcast.
Phoenix detectives have arrested 21-year-old Darius Robinson for the murder of his girlfriend, Shaniqua Hall, and the couple's unborn child.
They had store surveillance footage of him buying the tape used to tie up Shaniqua and the lighter fluid to start the fire.
They also found accelerant on his clothes.
And when the detectives received the results of Shaniqua's autopsy, it's clear that she'd met a violent end.
The medical examiner was not able to conclusively determine a cause of death. However, the report indicated that there were signs of blunt force trauma, strangulation, and burn damage to the body.
Shaniqua's mother is still struggling to make sense of the heinous crime when the detectives follow up with her the day after Darius's arrest.
There was never a sign of anything, no physical violence, no domestic violence.
We have to think about what Shaniqua's mother is feeling. She lost her daughter, but she also lost someone that was like a son to her.
Always call, Mom, thank you for being a mom, thank you for being, and that's all I was ever.
She was trying so hard to be loving and extending that love and grace and support, only for it to end with tragedy.
How could you do this to the family? That, basically for 5 years was there for you. And then it's like, what?
It just really hurts. She trusted this man.
I'm not going to insult you and say that I know what you're going through because I don't, but what I can say is that we're here to, do our best to make sure that, your family gets some justice.
Thank you. Thank you.
When Darius goes on trial for murder, the prosecutors portray him as a man who felt trapped.
He was already paying child support for the one kid, and now with Shaniqua 9 months pregnant and refusing to marry him, he was going to be on the hook for the second child as well.
He was probably very focused on, I need to get out, I need to escape. She is the reason why I'm having these problems, the reason why I'm unhappy, and I just need her to be gone. And sadly and tragically, he chose violence to get out of this situation.
According to the prosecutors, he not only chose violence, he planned it.
He knew exactly what he was going to do that day. He went into the store purposely to buy the duct tape, to buy lighter fluid.
Then he went home and put his plan into motion.
When he arrived at the apartment, he attacked her.
He stuffed her mouth with this rag
and bound her with duct tape.
Then he killed her.
He strangled her while her 2-year-old daughter was still in the home.
Possibly she was out in the living room watching cartoons. Possibly she heard what was going on.
All the prosecutors know for sure is that Darius doused the little girl's mother with lighter fluid and set her aflame.
Others in an apartment complex who could die and their children. He's not focused on that. He doesn't care about that. He only cares about escaping this situation.
But in his hurry to escape, Darius made a mistake.
As he left the bedroom where Shaniqua lay dead, he closed the door behind him.
Oxygen is necessary for a fire to burn hot and to burn long.
Closing the door cut off the oxygen to the fire so the fire could no longer breathe.
Which was why there was only white smoke in the hallway and not a raging inferno.
Darius had to have been shocked when he returned to the apartment.
He fully expected to get back to the apartment in flames.
But with Shaniqua already dead inside, there was no turning back.
911, what is your emergency?
My apartment's on fire, my girlfriend's inside.
When it's the defense's turn, they stick to Darius's story.
He simply came home and found the apartment on fire.
He had nothing to do with it.
They claimed the fact that he bought the lighter fluid and tape a little over an hour before is nothing but a coincidence.
But the jury doesn't believe in coincidences any more than the detectives did.
The jury finds Darius Robinson guilty on 2 counts of murder.
Darius Robinson was sentenced to death in the murder of Shaniqua Hall and her unborn baby.
Darius getting the death sentence may feel like justice initially, but the reality is that there's never enough justice when someone you love is taken in such a terrible, violent way.
This is something that should have never happened.
There were so many more options that Darius could have taken. He could have allowed that child to be born.
Instead, he's in prison. And his surviving daughter is left to suffer the consequences of his selfish action.
I think about this young girl growing up and then understanding one day how her mother died and why her mother died. And I hope that she will know that even though she has difficult days ahead as she grows without a mother, that she will always be loved and that her mother is still with her and loving her.
How does something that was once filled with promise, shared dreams, and the anticipation of new life end in such violence? What occurred was not just tragic, it was devastating. A mother's life was taken, leaving a child without her. The loss of a woman and her unborn child. Lives rooted in hope makes this situation even more painful to comprehend. Shaniqua Hall will forever be cherished by those who loved her. She will be deeply missed. Coming up on the next episode of the Fatal Attraction Podcast.
He answered his country's call.
He deployed to the Middle East to do a full tour.
She was the woman he left behind.
You can only imagine the longing.
And despite the challenges, they made it work.
They were together for 13 years.
They had 4 beautiful daughters.
They had a bright future ahead of them.
Until, after surviving Afghanistan, he died at his own front door.
In the heart of Newport News, Virginia, a seemingly ordinary workplace connection has evolved into something unexpected. What started as a routine professional relationship has now drawn a devoted Army veteran and loving father of 5 into the center of an unsettling mystery. Tune in to the next episode of the Fatal Attraction Podcast. We will see you in the next episode.